Hey guys, it's Courtney. I wanted to do a DIY today on some dashboards for your Erin Condren Folio. So I did these differently than I would do them for, well, in any other way. I would probably use a laminator. I did not use a laminator with these because with the Folio, the book is the exact same height as the Folio. So I didn't want to put lamination around because then it would leave some overhang. And so I did this with contact paper. So it's really a lot thinner than in what it would be with laminate, but it's still really sturdy and it fits perfect around the books. So here's one of the petite books and it comes out just a little bit, which I like just to make sure that it's actually covering the entire book. And then I assume if you add a whole bunch of stickers in your book, it might get pushed out that far. So it fits really nicely. I've got a pocket here, so I'll show you that too. So I'm just going to jump in and show you how to make these dashboards. So I just had a scrapbook paper pack, 12 by 12, and I kept the pages the length of the paper pack 12, and then I just cut it 8.25 tall because that's how tall the books are. So this paper pack it's only single, so that's why I have two here. If it was double-sided, you could skip a lot of the steps that I'm doing, but for this sake, I've got two. And the first thing we're going to do is fold these pages in half. Okay. That way we've got our fold mark. So I do that with the front and the back. So this one's going to be the front. This one's going to be the inside. So I'm actually going to fold that towards the inside. Okay. So I've now got two folded pieces of paper. I'm going to go ahead and embellish this first one with this. I've already got it set up. So I'm just going to tape this stuff on. I thought it'd be really cute. And you don't have to do this. This is just what I'm doing because I want to. And here is a tape runner. So I'm just going to tape that on there. Doesn't even have to be taped on good. Just adhered for the moment. So I'm going to put that kind of slanted. Okay. And then I'm going to put that probably like right there. Yeah, like that. So that'll be the front of my dashboard. And then we'll have the inside of my dashboard. And we'll also have a pocket, which I've already cut this. Basically just a square and then like an angle cut out of that. So that'll be my pocket there. So the first thing we're going to want to do is contact paper this page down. So I've got some contact paper here. It's the Duck brand. So it's got a grid on there. And what we're going to do is make sure there are two boxes on either side of here. And that's how big we're going to cut it. Now this is more than big enough. But I found that it is better to be bigger because if you cut this too small around, the edges that are folded over do not like to stay folded over. So I just cut it really big. So, I'm sorry, this is probably really noisy. We're going to take some of this backing off and just fold it. And you want to fold it at that 2 block mark, okay? So we're peeling this backing off. You kind of have to get it started along the edge first, and then we can fold it. So I just kind of lift it up And it's not the easiest stuff to work with, but it really makes these dashboards nice, and I really like them. So, now that we've got that peeled, well, maybe. Now that we've got that peeled, I like to find where my 2 block mark is, fold it on one side, and then go along the other side and make sure that's folded nicely. So I've got 2 block width on the side and out. So you can see through this blocking. You might not be able to see it on the camera, but you can see it. So you want to line 2 blocks, that like grid with 2 blocks on the edge, the very top edge of that piece of paper. And then I go ahead and let that contact paper just tape to my desk. Okay, and you can adjust that as needed. Like you can pull this piece of paper out. Basically what you want is this piece of paper to be lined up with that fold mark there. Okay, so then you're just going to kind of stabilize that piece of paper where it's at and pull on this here, okay, and push this part down at the same time. Okay, it's really easy. There shouldn't be any bubbles, but look for them because there could be bubbles. I don't have any right now, so I'm just going to peel this up from my desk. Okay, so we're now upside down, and what you want to do is cut triangles along the sides where these corners are, and get really close to that corner because we're going to be folding these over, and you don't want any extra folding going on because it just creates more bulk. Okay, so we're just going to do that on all 4 corners. And see, I did not get close enough there. So you really want to get close to that corner. Otherwise, it may not fold up as close. And you want, whenever you're folding these, you want it to be like as close to, like on that piece of paper. You don't want to see any of the tape. Okay, so I like to do the 2 long sides first and then the 2 short sides. And I like to go up in the middle first. And I just make sure I am really tight against that edge there. And I try not to have any bubbles here either. It's not a big deal for this piece of paper because this will be covered up. But again, the bubbles you'll be able to feel. I'm sorry, guys. It's my cats playing in a box. I hope that isn't too terribly distracting. So I'm just doing the same thing on the other side. Here, okay, and on these 2 sides. Whoops, and see, I have created a bubble. Oh my gosh, would you quit? I think the cat is out of the box for the moment. So just fold this down. I'm really sorry, y'all. Now see, those have buckled, but I think it'll be okay. So last side, same thing. I just go along that edge and make sure it's really close to that paper. And then make sure there are little to no bubbles. Oh, and you see, I did not fold that up good on this side. And I think that is mainly because I didn't cut really close to that corner on that side. So be sure to cut as close to the corner as you can because you want these to be as close to the paper as you can. You don't want to see any of the tape on the edge. If you do, it's not a big deal, but it just looks a lot nicer not to. So I go ahead and now that I have the contact paper, I fold it again so that the contact paper kind of gets folded. So we've now got the inside part all laminated, okay? So now we're going to do the pocket. So I just put the pocket, kind of same drill, kind of measure it out, see where it goes. And I like to make mine way bigger than it needs to be because that just ends up working better. And I do like to contact paper the inside of this pocket, just because you can feel the difference when it's not, and I just feel like it's probably more sturdy, so I do contact paper the inside of it. The inside one is not that big of a deal how it gets put on, so I usually just peel that, because we're not folding this one around either. This one's going to get cut to the same size as that pocket. So, to save myself some cutting, let me get this one out of the way. To save myself some cutting, I just do it as close to that edge without actually going over it. So I don't have to cut these edges, I just have to cut these. And again, this part is definitely not necessary. So I just go through and cut around. Okay. And then, now that I have that done, I've got this other piece that's going to go on the front. Okay. And this one we are going to fold all the way around. Well, not all the way around, but we're going to fold around on the right sides. The left sides we're going to leave out so that we can actually use that to adhere it to the inside of our pocket. Okay. So I think I'm going to do it this way. You want to leave a good edge on your bottom and left. This one's probably the most, this is when I get the most bubbles. But you should be able to just pick it up. I mean, be careful. I haven't had it rip the paper yet, but doesn't mean that it won't. So you can pick that back up and try and get some of these bubbles out. Okay, one more bubble in this corner. And I don't know why that's when I get the most bubbles, but that is when I get the most bubbles. So we're going to do the same thing, cut around all those corners. Okay. And here. Now here is a little different. We want to cut close there. And then as close to this corner as we can. And then we cut like that. Well, hold on. And another little, you need to cut a little triangle out of there, because otherwise that one folds and you can feel it and it'll like stick up and be in the way and everything. So that one's probably the most important to make sure. But I just cut a little triangle out like that. So I like to do the long sides first. And then I do that little short side. But we're keeping this side and this side open. We're just cutting around that corner piece, or folding around it. Okay, so I now have this pocket laminated with two sides out. So I'm going to put this face down. And then you're going to just place this, line it up straight with this pocket, but leave a little bit of a gap between the two so that it's got room to fold over. So I hope you can see that there's like a little space between those. Those aren't like butted right up next to each other. So I just place that down and I fold it over. Okay. And then all we have to do is place this and fold this part down. Okay. So, y'all, we're already almost done. So, I just like to, I guess you could do this without this next step, but I like to do this just to ensure that everything stays where it's supposed to stay. So, I just like to double tape these two pages together. And I do that on this side first. I just do one fold at a time, like half the page and then the other half of the page. So I do this side with the pocket first. This is not the best tape runner matter. Or maybe it's just because I'm doing it over that contact paper, and so it's slipping and not really wanting to stick to it. Anyway, so I do that, and I make sure that I'm going to be putting this on correctly. Okay, and I try to line this up like as best as I can, which really isn't always that good. But we will do whatever fixing we have to with the paper trimmer. Okay, so there's that side taped down, and then I let this fold back and I put the tape on just the paper side, the front one. I don't know, is it? Oh, that's been taping. Just didn't sound like it. Okay, so then I just fold that over on itself. Okay. And I think that one is actually pretty good, so I don't think I need to do any trimming there. So the only thing I have left to do is do the same thing we did on the inside piece with the contact paper. Okay, this one's a little more tricky because we have embellishments on here, so you just need to pay more attention, but it is the same thing we're doing. So 2 blocks around. And then pulling this backing up and folding it on the 2 block mark. And the reason I do this is just so that it is the same all the way around. And it leaves a lot more room, thickness around it, because again, if you do like a small little tiny layer and fold it around, the fold will try and come up on you. So this just helps like really reinforce it. Okay, so I fold on that 2 block mark, which I get that edge straight, and then I know that it's good. And then I can come around and fold all the way around. And again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the inside piece. We're going to line that top piece up with the 2 block mark. Okay, and then I let it like stick to my desk. And line this folded piece up with the edge of that paper. And really, you don't even need to be this precise with it. I just like to, so that whenever I fold the pages in, you can't see, like it's not as noticeable because it's all uniform. So I just pull that back, watch those embellishment pieces, and then come all the way through with it. And I like to press down around those embellishments more, just in case there's like extra bubbles there. Okay, and then peel it up, and we're going to do the same thing and fold all the way around. And that will make sure that the 2 pieces are definitely together. So again, get as close to these corners as you can. Okay. We're doing that on all 4 corners. And same drill, I like to do the long sides first, but it really doesn't matter. And get as close to that edge folded up. And here is where it's important to make sure there's no bubbles, because we're going to see this. Okay, and I mean, if you don't have bubbles, then you really can't, you can't see this edge. Like, it's not clear. I mean, you can definitely see it, but it's not obvious. So you just want to make sure you rub all those bubbles out. Do the other side now. Okay, make sure I get really close to that edge. And then smooth it out. And same. Nothing has changed. Okay, one more side, and then we are almost done, guys. Okay, get all those bubbles out. Okay, so the only thing we have left to do is we need to cut to make sure this pocket's gonna work, okay? So I kind of lift that contact paper back up, and then I just take some scissors and I cut along that edge where the pocket's at. And I've got these really small scissors, so it cuts really close. I think they're probably embroidery scissors. Or I might have gotten them by the yarn. I'm not sure. But they look a lot like the scissors. Look like a lot like embroidery scissors. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Okay. And then you've pretty much got your folder done. The only last thing I do, and this is preference, is I take a corner trimmer and then I just trim those corners, which I really like to do with the folios because the folios are rounded cornered, so it just makes it look really uniformed and nice. And that is it, guys. That is all to it. It does kind of like fly open, but after they lay and you lay it with something, it does get better. If you see this one's laying flat, I had something laying on top of it. So that is that for the dashboards. And they really do fit perfectly with the folios. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.